one of the greatest successful humans and artists, not a human artist, that, continuously impresses me with his class and professionalism, gratitude is Pitbull. I mean, he's just like, especially in hip hop, he'll just be like, word, okay, bet, that's what's up. He's the person that every time, always, and it's not in his signature, he writes it out. Thanks, Papo, appreciate the opportunity. Always thanks you and shows you that he's grateful that you were thinking of him, even if it's something he doesn't want to do.
The shit we do for our kids. As parents, we say that kind of tongue-in-cheek at times, maybe even kidding around with a sigh here and there after chauffeuring them around to their practices, or leaving work early for a parent-teacher conference, or even sitting at Chuck E. Cheese for 5 hours on a Friday night. The shit we do for our kids. But you ever take a step back and think, damn, the shit we do for our kids, like, for real though? Sometimes we need a third party to point it out. We can't see it ourselves. We're just doing it. And our kids sure as hell aren't going to point it out. Did you ever look at your parents when you were 13 and be like, hey, Dad, really appreciate all the shit you did for me? Kids don't look at it that way because it's always been there. And the parents don't look at it this way because they just naturally and willingly do it. Now, I'm speaking of my reality. I understand that it doesn't always go this way, and there are many parents that will vocalize and feel the burden of their children. I'm not talking about the pains in the asses they are as babies either. I'm talking about like in life. They just don't embrace parenting the same way others do. I was able to experience one extreme to the other personally. I was living that life in the city, making money, high-rise living, walking to work. Fuck that. I mean, I was basically skipping to work up the riverfront. I was a happy dude. I'd go see my son who lived out of state pretty often. But in between those visits, here I was just living my life. Then one day, circumstances changed. My 10-year-old was going to be living with me now. It was my doing. It was welcomed. I didn't see it as a bad thing whatsoever. But now things were different. 6 months later, I bought a house in the suburbs and we moved, as I did not think the Trump Tower with doormen calling him sir was the environment I wanted him in on a daily basis. That's not how I wanted to raise him. Just like that, dates and happy hours and martinis and steaks 5 nights of the week were going to be a thing of the past. I had a bigger priority, and it was an important one. Now don't get me wrong, over time that shit may have worked its way back into the picture. But for the immediate time being, it had no place. I never saw this as a sacrifice. My son is lucky. And I am lucky I had parents that would have done the same for me. Not everyone is blessed this way. And when inconvenience clouds judgment, sometimes optimal parenting decisions are endangered. When my mom was still alive, I remember a moment her and I had when I was in my early 30s. My company was on its way up and I was starting to make some really good money. I told her that making the money was not as fulfilling as I thought it would be, and it didn't necessarily make me feel as significant or relevant because of it. Not sure why I thought it would, but it didn't. What did make me feel important, though, was when I had a chance to embrace an opportunity to truly impact another person's life. Unfortunately, these opportunities don't come around often to make a true impact on another person. Well, being a good parent is definitely the easiest place to start. To me, that is more important than anything else. I look for opportunities outside of my kids. They're just harder to find. For those of you that don't have kids nor plan to, trust me, the opportunities still exist. You just got to go look for them.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Glencrest Global. Glencrest Global is a Chicago and Los Angeles-based venture capital firm that is involved in interesting companies with interesting founders. To see some of Glencrest Global's investments, visit glencrestglobal.com.
My guest today is Clinton Sparks. He is a Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum DJ, producer, and songwriter responsible for selling over 75 million records. He has won BMI Songwriter Awards and received numerous ASCAP Music Awards with DJ Snake, whom he discovered and signed. Sparks has written and produced hit songs for multi-platinum recording artists such as Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Rick Ross, Diddy, Pitbull, Ludacris, Big Sean, Akon, and one of my favorites, 2 Chainz. He has created critically acclaimed projects with artists from Eminem and Kanye West to Busta Rhymes and The Clips, whose We Got It For Cheap series was named in Rolling Stone magazine's top 50 albums of that year. He was Diddy's tour DJ, helped launch Eminem's Shade 45 channel on Sirius XM, an on-air host on E! News for over 5 years, and he played a critical key role in the branding of Ciroc. Clinton is also the co-founder and chief business development officer of the world's fastest growing and most socially diverse esports lifestyle gaming brand, Xset. In a prior role at FaZe Clan as VP of Business Development, Clinton brought diversity and hip-hop into the gaming space by recruiting rappers Xset, Sway Lee, Pitbull, Yo Gotti, and others to invest and collaborate in the gaming space. I'm going to get off script here for a second. You know, this list really goes on, and there's a lot of things I could include in this intro, but we're going to get to this interview. I do want to throw in some old school shout outs that I think Clinton is going to appreciate when I looked way back on his bio. For all you in my age category, they used to spend time at the Palms and Hard Rock in Vegas. Yeah, this guy was one of the originators of those famous parties that we could probably talk all day about. Clinton and I bonded over single fatherhood recently, and I could tell you that this dude's character is as impressive as his resume. Welcome to 2000% Raise, Clinton Sparks.
Hey, I hope you have some sound effects in post-production for an applause.
Boom. Let's go. Standing ovation. It's so two things. It's weird to hear someone say nice things about you, but also sometimes you're so busy just, creating dope, putting it out, creating dope, putting it out, creating dope, putting it out, that you don't stop to recognize all the dope that you've done and how dope you are. Right? Nice.
But when I listen to people say a whole spiel like that, people usually just say, "Oh, Grammy nominated," keep it moving. But when you going down a whole Wikipedia spiel, it's which I don't read my own stuff. It's I step out of myself and say, "Man, that guy did all right for himself." Coming from being homeless and having a shitty, childhood, pretty good results for that kid.
Yeah, there you go, man. And you're in LA now, but you originated in Boston, correct? I have some ties in Boston because it was a Boston-based company that bought mine, so I spent quite a bit of time out there. I recognize that 617 area code. Yeah. And now here you are on the other side of the country, unhomeless, doing your thing, huh?
Yeah. Born and raised in a town called Dorchester inside the city of Boston. Boston is near and dear to my heart. I love Boston sports. And Boston's always got my support.
Love it. Well, hey, man, I want to touch on something right off the bat here that I did mention in your bio. And my listeners know that, hey, man, I love hip hop. And reading your bio with some of those names on there, just awesome, dude. I'm like, holy shit. Because I know you're friends with these guys, too. And maybe as me and you get a little closer, I might be, hey, man, invite me over next time you're hanging with Akon or something. I'm totally kidding, Clinton. But Shade 45, you were one of the originals on Shade 45, and I don't remember exactly when it came out, if it was one of the original Sirius XM stations or not, but as a DJ early on like that on satellite radio, it had to feel a little pioneer-like almost. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I was, even before, Shade 45 with Eminem and Paul Rosenberg, I was already doing satellite radio on XM. For years prior to that. So I've definitely have been someone that's always been up on the technology before others. I mean, look at the way I built my career in the beginning was I lied to the entire music industry and pretended like I had a pop and radio show online. because I knew that they didn't understand the internet. So when I would call record labels and say, hey, I see you're bringing, Cameron or Common or Wu-Tang to Boston. I have a really popular online radio show. You'd be doing a real disservice to yourself and the artist if you don't come by my mom's house where my studio was in her basement to come visit me. And I ended up getting on all the lists. So whenever artists were doing promo runs, Clinton Sparks' online radio show was part of the things you needed to go do when you were in Boston.
That's great.
In fact, that's how I met Eminem and Paul, either 1999, by having them at my house. And like they hung out.
They did not come to your mom's house.
Yeah, everyone came to my mom's house. My mom made cookies for everybody. And, I've remained friends with Gilly the Kid to Talib Kweli to Paul Rosenberg. Like I've maintained friendships with everybody since way back then. So, because we've all...
That's awesome, man. That's all. Paul Rosenberg is an awesome dude, man.
He
I have some personal ties to him, and I had, anyway, he had nothing but great things to say about you, man. I can't say enough good things about him. And Paul, if you're listening right now, which I know you're not, but some of your people might be listening, we do want you on the show, buddy. We do want you on the show.
Nice.
I'm not holding my breath on that one, though. You know what, man, Clinton, it's just really a pleasure to have you on, man. And as I did more and more research on you, all right, one of the accolades that popped up that I wasn't aware of, all right, you produced a Biggie song posthumous, okay? Was that just a surreal? As I was reading this, I'm thinking to myself, I felt surreal for you because he was already a legend, right?
Yeah.
And here you are producing one of the songs.
There's the plaque right there.
Is that right?
Platinum record with Biggie and Bob Marley. So yeah. So, Puff had hit me when they were working on the album. It was like, I want you to come to, the studio in New York and work on some tracks for this new Biggie album we're working on. So when I went there, I always want to do things that are like unique and innovative and different. And I'm definitely not a guy that follows trends or tries to ride someone else's wave. So when I went there, being a mixtape DJ, at this time, I'm one of the most credible mixtape DJs and I own the biggest mixtape site in the world. So I know how much Biggie's lyrics and vocals have been abused right on mixtapes. So when he asked me to come be part of the album, I'm like, who really cares about hearing the same Biggie vocals over new beats over and over and over again? So when I went in there, I had a whole concept. I go, what if the concept of this album was, what would an album sound like if Biggie was in heaven and collaborated with other legends in heaven, right?
Oh, shit.
And I was like,
okay.
I go, that would be something people would be like, oh, shit. Because then you get like Frank Sinatra and Aaliyah to Luther Vandross to like all these other people. And, I don't think Puff got it. It was just kind of like, I just go make some hot shit, right? So I went in the studio and I made like a record with Aaliyah. I made one with, who else? I did one with Frank Sinatra. I did one with Luther Vandross. I did one with, Bob Marley, a whole bunch of people. So I made them all like that. And I delivered like 5 or 6 records with that theme, hoping that if he heard all those, he'd be like, this is the direction. But instead, they just took the Biggie and Bob Marley Hold Your Head, which was the first single off the Biggie Duets Final Chapter album. And it went platinum. And
awesome.
The other songs didn't go to waste because I did one record with Aaliyah sample that Rick Ross ended up using. I sent it to Neo and I was like, yo, you should do a hook on this. It's like kind of like a Me and My Chick kind of record. So he did a hook on it for the Biggie album. When Puff didn't take it, I told Neo, I go, I'm going to send this to Ross. So then Rick Ross ended up using that record with Neo on the hook for his Ashes to Ashes mixtape. So I produced it there. I still have a couple more of those records that never seen the light of day. And then some of them are on my mixtapes. Me and Puff ended up doing a Welcome to Bad Boy mixtape. So on that mixtape, there's a couple of the records I did.
Awesome.
With Biggie on there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the whole mixtape concept, Clinton, I'm just thinking about back when we're around the same age, but I'm thinking when I was younger, before you were on the scene, right? Like junior high and high school, I used to wait for those Funkmaster Flex mixtapes to come out. And was he the pioneer of doing this and you were already adding on to this, or was this a big thing? Like, educate our audience that maybe aren't familiar.
Yeah, well, Funkmaster Flex to me is a legend and a pioneer and a trailblazer in radio. So when I look at my successful career in radio, which I've been on radio for almost 20 years, built my own syndicated radio shows, been on, XM, Dash, everything. He's the guy that kicked open the door and made, hip hop, mixed show radio. Like none of us would exist without him doing what he did. I don't look at Flex, even though he did mixtapes. Flex isn't someone I look at as like, yo, he's a trailblazer in mixtapes. Although some people may debate me on that, I personally didn't look at him as a mixtape. I looked at him as radio. I have this one book out now, How to Win Big in the Music Business, written by Damon John of Shark Tank and Fubu. And like, if you read this book, you'll see how the last line of that chapter blends in the first line of the next chapter. And that's from all my books will be like that for the rest of my life. My new book comes out January 17th. And like, I'll always write in a manner that it just continually flows like a mixtape.
Well, and I was going to talk about your next book that's coming out, but since you brought the one that's already up right now, how did you, what's your connection with Damon John? How did, because he wrote the foreword of the book, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've known Damon John, I don't know. We came up like at the same time. So we've always been in the same circles, knew each other, been friends, be in clubs together. So we've had a friendship for, I don't know, over 15 years. So it's funny because, I'm the guy in the music industry and with Damon and stuff, I'm the guy that comes in with the crazy ideas all the time, right? And like, people will laugh because they're so grand and so big. They're like, man, you're crazy. You know what I mean? I used to get frustrated, like, what do you mean? This is real. I'm being serious. This could really work. And like, and we'll get into like me getting into gaming and how like my big ideas have finally been able to start to come to fruition. But, when I had talked to Damon about writing a book, like I said earlier, I don't usually like to do what other people are already doing or ride other waves. And, this book came out 3 years ago, and even the year or two leading up to that, if you look at my history of my Facebook and me talking, like I've always been someone that wanted to help other people, inspire other people, give out game. And like now it's kind of become a trend where everyone's asking like, what's your why? Or like, failing doesn't mean you lost. It's a lesson. And it's like all these cliche, like fake, like corny, like life coach development gurus now. It's like, it's so annoying because it's like, dude, you're not even winning. What are you talking about? Right. So,
dude, me and you got way more in common than we realized.
Yeah. So like when I was thinking about doing this, because I knew that, there's millions and millions of unsigned independent artists that are trying to get on, and there's no like Gary V that's caring about these artists and helping them. And I've always been the guy that would give advice and help artists or influencers or whatever it is throughout my career. And I've always said to myself, I want to get to a status that I can build a company that just helps motherfuckers and like teaches them the right way so they don't get taken advantage of or used. So when I was going to write this book and I started seeing all these corny people popping up, giving fake inspiration and stuff, I was like, I don't even know if I want to do that because I'm going to be lumped into all those cornballs. And then Damon was like, no, those people are exactly why you need to write this, because you're one of the realest motherfuckers out there and they need the game that you're going to give so they can separate the real from that bullshit. And I'll write, and you can't put it out without me writing the forward. So that's how this whole book came about.
Dude, you just nailed it on the head, brother. These business coaches, there's coaches coaching you on how to be a business coach. Their business is the business that you are now a client of, that they're teaching you to build a business of. It's like, what have you actually done?
And by the way, it's like, what have you done? Like, where's your credibility? Where's your receipts? Where's your history of winning over and over again? Like, why would I listen to you? It's just, I tell people all the time, like, pay attention to the messenger, not the message. Because anybody can regurgitate what they heard from somebody else. Like, you got to check the messenger and look at their history, look at their connections, look at like what they've accomplished. And like, it's your job. The world is out here to get you, man. It's your job to do the research and defend yourself and protect yourself and make sure whoever you're going to do business with, invest money with or whatnot, that go look at their history and their credibility, go get some references, and this is what the problem is. Most people don't. They hear something that sounds too good to be true because it fucking is. And then they think like, oh man, I'm going to make passive income of $20,000 a day sitting on my ass. And it's like, no, the fuck you won't, dude. And it's like, all these people out here, like, I'm going to show you how you can make $10,000 a day by doing this thing. Like, there's just so many, like, it's just so fake out here. And like, The internet makes kids believe they got to be billionaires by their 19 or they fucking flopped at life. And it's just sad, man.
Dude, I'm on the verge of like, because there's so much bullshit, especially on Instagram, and I'm like on the verge of just like giving up. I'm not going to, but I will say recently I've gotten to the point where I don't give a fuck how many likes or how many views a reel has that I put out there. If I think it's good fucking content, it's staying up. I don't give a shit if it has 2 fucking views, okay? If I think it's good content and someone could learn from it, it's staying. All the other bullshit, if someone else wants to pretend they got 4,000 likes in the first 2 minutes when they're talking about how much they spent on a boat, God bless everybody for believing them, okay?
Right.
You know,
I think I'm going to do that too. I think I kind of start feeling the rumblings of a revolution of, you know, people starting to want to go back to when it was real. People want to go back to when like it wasn't so much bullshit and fake and so much content and so much like, I can start to feel it coming. I don't know who's going to be the first to really break the levee, but like you can sort of start feeling like even young people are like starting to turn into like, man, I'm sick of social media and stuff like that. Like my son, he's 18. He's like, man, I wish I was born when you were born. And I was like, why? He goes, I hate my generation, man. They just care about the wrong shit. They all want to be the same thing. They want the same exact things. Like, remember when we were young, like somebody wanted to be a cop, someone wanted to be an astronaut, someone wanted to be a doctor, somebody wanted to be now everybody just wants to be an influencer or a rapper. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or a coach. And it's just like, fuck, man. Like, I mean, I'm not even joking. Like a friend of mine who's a cop where I live, he's like, there's such a lack of people wanting to become a cop, which obviously there's different reasons why it would suck to become a cop now. But like he's like, yo, we don't even have afternoon patrol anymore. There's so little resources. And I'm seeing that in different industries where everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to like be rich and just hardly work less. You know what I mean? It's like, I seen someone's Instagram bio the other day and it was like, I teach people how to work less. Why do you feel dope about that? And like, why do people want to work less? I get the theory. I'd love to just sit back, do nothing and have the greatest life ever. I get who doesn't want that. Do you know what I'm saying? And I get, well, but by the way, if you start living that life and you'll realize like, look, you got money, you realize like when you have a lot of things, you almost start thinking like, what the fuck is the point of being alive anymore? Like I've did everything. I've helped people. I've accomplished my goals. My family's healthy and happy. You start thinking like, what's left? Do you know what I'm saying? So like, if you don't work and you don't have something or goals to go towards, and you're just sitting around loafing, looking at your bank account because it's filling up with passive income that's just coming out of fucking nowhere. Like, what do you think in 1 or 2 years, aren't you going to be fucking tired of sitting at the beach doing nothing? You'd be bored out of your fucking mind. Why do you think hostel is a real fucking thing? Because guys are like, what do I do next? Guess I'll fucking zap someone's eye out of their head. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, what else are you going to do?
You want to gamble, but maybe not like all the way gamble, but you like fantasy? Moneyline app is the place for you. Player prop bets in a parlay with some unique payout or continue options along the way make this company one of the faster growing apps of its nature. Check out Moneyline app on Apple and Android.
One thing happens, so like traveling the world as a DJ and being gone a lot, me and my son were best friends since he's been born. We're still best friends now. And
awesome.
I remember one day, it was a Thursday, and I'm in LA, in my apartment in LA, and my house is in Boston. And I go, hey, dude, I'm coming home tomorrow. He's like, yay. I'm like, dude, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you too, Dad. And I was like, dude, we're going to do this. We're going to go to a Snake River. We're going to, Bear Mountain. We're going to do like all these things that we do. And he goes, I can't wait, Dad. I'm so excited. I go, hey, son, what do you miss most about when I'm gone? Right? And he took a second and he thought, and he goes, Dad, you just make everything happy.
Oh, that's great.
In
there
that
you go.
Moment,
you won.
Both of my goals happened in that one phrase. Like, how could I literally got that quote framed and it's hanging in my house. How can I ever be upset or bothered when the thing I wanted since I was 12 came to reality?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that, brother. And we talked a little bit. Your son is from a previous relationship, and that's I kind of alluded to that in my monologue a little bit. And I got to tell you, man, when I sold my company, I had this period of retirement, and I have kids, and thank goodness I had the kids, so I was able to devote some attention to them. But I needed more because I needed a passion at working. My kids are a little older. They don't need to be, their asses wiped and stuff. They're a little bit older now. But, they still need to be taken care of. I'm still their dad, but I needed something else to be doing life while they're out with their friends And what I found was, bro, there's not like some secret society of the successful multimillionaires hanging out. Hey, let's all hang out at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. No, the people that are available to hang out with you at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday at the bar are the opposite of what I just described. You know what I mean?
Well, no, the one you just described does exist if you care about it and you're friends with them. It definitely does. Trust me, I've been in spaces I'm like, this is real life. I thought this was just movies. But like, yeah.
Well, see, I get invited to shit like that, but it's like maybe a couple times a month. What about those in-between days? And I'm not a country club guy. I tried to do that for a minute, and it's just not for me. But anyway.
Well, you know why? Maybe you share the same. I don't share the same. The things that excite a lot of the guys that do that, and I'm not saying all, but I'm not into destroying other people. I'm not into, conquering women. I'm not into. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm not into I'm not into the things that most stereotypical successful people are into, or even guys. Like, I don't even care about fucking sports. I like Boston sports, and I'll watch my friends like Ezekiel Elliott or Austin Eckler when they play. But like, I'm not a gambler at sports. I don't like, I got my team. Fuck you. I get mad. Nobody pay attention to me. Like I care about the world, making people happy, my family, and achieving my goals. Like, those are the things I care about and focus on all the time.
Well, one thing that about guys that you do have in common, at least with this guy, is your love for hip hop. And before we get into the business stuff, I want to jump into your business. But before we do that, I got to ask you, out of all these, you just said stereotypes. All right, is there any of the hip hop artists you work with that, if the general public had any idea what their personality was, we'd be floored. And now, if you tell me 2 Chainz is a little bitch or something, this call's gonna end, all right?
No, 2 Chainz is awesome.
Yeah.
How about I'll say the opposite?
Okay.
One of the greatest successful humans and artists, not a human artist, that continuously impresses me with his class and professionalism and gratitude is Pitbull. I mean, he's just like, every time we text, he never, especially in hip hop, he'll just be like, word, okay, bet, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? He's the person that every time, always, and it's not in his signature, he writes it out. Thanks, Papo, appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome.
Always thanks you and shows you that he's grateful that you were thinking of him, even if it's something he doesn't want to do. Even if he's like, I'm not really interested in this, but I appreciate you thinking about me. Thanks. And all the time.
Listen, man, you have your book that's coming out. It might actually be out by the time this airs. It'll be close. But it's titled The 10 Traits That Made Me Millions in the Music Industry. Now, we want people to go and get your book, Clinton, but could you give us a sneak preview, maybe share a trait or two with us?
Of the new book?
Yep.
Yeah, 10 Traits That Made Me Millions in the Music Industry. It's basically walking you through the traits that I possess that help me become as successful as I've become and help me to win, repeat, because I've learned to master these traits, understand, study, and utilize them in a way that, help me continue to move forward. And I think a lot of people get stuck on, whether they need the money or, they rely on just their academic intelligence or their physical talent or skill, and they think that that's all that they need to become successful. But I've worked for 5 companies that literally the CEO, the companies would have went like this, but it was the CEO that destroyed the company because of their own personality traits, right? And their inability and their non-self-awareness of the things that they're doing that's harming the people in the company and the company itself. So even my last book, it's not about like, here's how to understand publishing, right? It's more like, here's how to communicate the right way. Here's how to follow up right. Here's how to market yourself the proper way. Here's how to build a powerful network. Here's how to utilize it effectively, right? So I don't think that people really get down to the nitty gritty of how to psychologically and emotionally win. right? And they're just like, oh, you got to do this. Like, even like, here's how you make money on Amazon. Here's how you do this. Yeah, but if you're a shithead, nothing will work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and
if no one wants to work with you, no one wants to work with you, bro.
And if you don't know how to treat people, if you don't know how to, whether it's customer service, partners, employees, you know, and it's amazing because it's, I don't know if it's just because of the life I live, why I just like I understand things pretty easily. I mean, if somebody says like, don't do that, it hurts me, then I stop doing it because it hurts them. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Most of the world doesn't do that. Instead, they'll say, well, why does that hurt you? Or I didn't hurt you. Or, well, that shouldn't hurt you. And it's just like, are you an asshole? The guy just said it hurt him. So care enough to realize what you did hurt them, acknowledge it, apologize, and fix it so it doesn't happen again. Like, it's such an easy concept. I don't understand why the world doesn't like, I will never get into a pissing contest or an argument with somebody that I'm, doing business with, because it's just like, it is what it is. If you either like it or you don't. Like even you, I came to you and presented an opportunity to you. Like, it feels good to say this and everybody can't say it, but if you start at the beginning with the ability of knowing how to get to this point, your whole life is free. Like, I won't say everything here, but I invited John to invest in a company that I'm a part of. I don't need John's money. I don't need John's connections. I don't need anything from John. The reason I invited John is because I see what John has done. I see what John's about. I think he's dope as a father, as we talked about it. And I'm doing something incredible that I think he would enjoy, and I think that he would benefit from it. And by me understanding and knowing what type of person he is from the little bit we've got to know each other and know what excites him, I'm able to see this makes sense for him. So that's why I offered the opportunity. If it didn't make sense to you, I wouldn't offer it just because I need your money. I wouldn't even offer or do to deal with somebody based off just money. If it didn't make sense to you, I wouldn't sell you. Look, I can sell shit to an asshole. I know I have the ability to sell anybody anything. I know that I can do that. Right? I used to be a criminal when I was young too. So like, I understand the art of manipulation. But like, I will never do a deal or try to get someone to do something so I benefit. If I don't feel they're going to benefit and I don't understand and can't explain to them why they'll benefit, then I wouldn't even broach the idea with him.
Well, and any young entrepreneur, not even young entrepreneur, maybe first-time entrepreneurs or founders that are listening right now, maybe you don't have the established credibility that Clinton has, or you think you don't have the ability to walk away and not do the hard sell on investors. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, and I've seen it time and time again, you're going to lose credibility with me in the future. If you're trying to shove something down my throat that I see doesn't make sense, or if I ask you a couple of questions, you're quickly defensive and don't want to answer or whatever. Listen, man, I'm already here. This is my money. I could go a totally different direction. We never have to talk again. I got somebody that was kind of like a promoter of VC types of shit, and he brought me a deal, and it was a shitty deal, and he kind of lied to me about a couple of things. I lost money on it. And now here he is a couple of years later trying to get back in the door with me. And it's like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? I'm never working with you again. Are you out of your fucking mind? And he did it because he was probably getting paid some kind of commission on the other end of it for raising money on the back end that he didn't tell me about. And it's like, dude, you just ruined a relationship over the $4,000 or whatever the hell you just made. If you got a 0.5%, I have no idea what you got. But, so to be in that position when you are established and don't need to do it, that's a great spot to be in. But my suspicion is I've always acted this way. I think Clinton probably has too, based on what we're hearing right now. He probably acted this way when he did need the money. I'm not going to take your 50 grand or your 100 grand so I can make 2 grand if I know this is a shitty deal. You know why? Because I want you to talk to me in the future. And also, fuck that. Even if you're never going to be my friend, no matter how this unfolds, I got morals. I got to go to sleep at night.
Right. Well, even when I was coming up, I mean, there was plenty of times that people like were banking on me and my success in the music industry. And they're like, oh, let me bankroll it, or let me fund what you're doing. And I knew there was people I could go to like, yo, can I fit? But I wasn't sure if you were going to win. I don't know if this is going to work. And I don't want to risk your money. I would rather go shovel some more driveways and go get my own money, risk my own money. And then when I figure out how to make it work and I know what to do because I've figured out the rights, the wrongs, the pros, the cons, then I can come to you with a scientific way of how this will benefit and work for you. I would never just come with someone with an idea like, this is going to work, man. You should totally invest in this. We're going to make millions of dollars, da-da-da. It's like, here's a piece of advice to anybody listening to. If you want to get somebody excited about something, assuming you have integrity and assuming you have a great product or opportunity, you just got to quickly, what is it? Why is it great? Why is it going to work? How is it going to benefit the person that you're trying to get involved? And why do you want them involved? That's it. Yep. Bang, 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 bang. Done. Right. You should be able to say that in 2 minutes. If you can't say that in 2 minutes, then it's not fucking dope, or you got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to do it. I can sit here to John and tell him right now, hey, this company I'm doing, here's what it is. Here's why it's different. Here's why it's going to make money. Here's why you should get involved, and here's how you're going to benefit from it. I can tell anybody that with anything I'm involved with. Otherwise, I wouldn't go to somebody with it.
Yeah, that's damn straight, man. Well said. Well said. Well, let's get into that. Now, a couple of years ago, we're back in 2020. You were the director of business development at FaZe Clan. And if anybody with kids or even adults, I mean, a lot of people know FaZe Clan. Many people know FaZe Clan, I'm assuming here. And, you know, you're with Xset now as a co-founder. It seems kind of like a very similar space. How did this transition go down? And could you talk to us about what Xset is, and if you want to, how you left FaZe Clan and where this all came from?
Yeah. So when I got involved with the gaming space in 2017, being part of the C-suite of basically FaZe was a startup. They were existing online popular kids, but they weren't a business. So we started in 2017, and brought it all the way to a $1 billion IPO. But
boom.
You know, like I was saying earlier, my brain's always been too big for every like kind of industry I've been in. And people are like, oh, your ideas are too big. Like, you know, you're talking to a guy who came from a helicopter through the roof to land on his turntables at the Palms, right? So,
did you really?
yeah. So that was the intro. You can YouTube that. Clinton Sparks.
We're up at the Playboy Club.
At the Palms. It was called Moon.
That was a club on the roof, right?
Yeah. So they opened the retractable roof, and I got lowered by a helicopter. And then, well, yeah, you can Google that whole thing. Clinton Sparks being lowered by a helicopter at Palms in Las Vegas. But like, yeah, so like I've always had like really big ideas. Like, trust me, I was like, can I ride it on a horse? Can I do a zip line? Like all types of stuff, right? Yeah. And so when I got into the gaming space, I'm like, holy shit, this industry is what my brain was built for, because it's like limitless. So I knew that I could start plugging in different industries and fashion, music, art, sports into the gaming culture. And I did that and started bringing it along with my partners, Greg and Wil, started bringing in everything from Xset to Yo Gotti to Pitbull to Ray J to, you know, Troy Carter, who you've probably seen on Shark Tank, you know, to NFL, to Bear Brick, to Champion, to Network, to Beats by Dre, like all these brands and people we brought in to really build this industry. And like, we really are the reason that gaming has become bigger, because it was us plugging in these other industries. And like, I became like the leader of intersecting, you know, hip hop and music with the gaming space. Awesome. But as I was there for a couple of years, remember when I said a thing earlier about like CEOs are the reason why companies don't work?
Yep.
Well, so, you know, apply that. And it was just like, we morally didn't align, we legally didn't align. And I was tired of doing a lot of great things for a company I didn't seem to appreciate or value what I was bringing to the company. And then it just kind of seemed like a big frat house of just like debauchery and like, look, I built
Was it still like that as they were getting big? Because as you start going with investors like now. And IPO.
Yeah, it's still like, really? Why do you think all the good people are leaving now? I don't know if you pay attention. You probably don't even pay attention to it, but like all the good people are leaving, their stock has plummeted below what it was when we were there. You know what I'm saying? Like it was at a $240 million valuation when when me and Greg went and raised $40 million. And then it went up to $1 billion. Now it's at like a $150 million valuation. Like,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, the company, it's not working out, which was clear to anybody that was there that cared to look, which is why we all bounced and everybody good left.
Just for clarification too, so Clinton's a C-suite type of guy over there. He was the FaZe Clan, the talent is. Tell everyone what it is and why everybody follows these guys around.
So they're popular guys online for gaming, doing trick shooting. During the phase, no pun intended, when like people were online from Vine to Musical.ly to TikTok to all these platforms where you're, gaming live and you're doing trick shooting and just stuff like that. So they became super popular. And I have millions of followers, but they weren't.
And then you guys built a corporation around.
Yeah, they didn't have like a revenue model or any kind of business model for the company. So that's what we came in and built that out.
And that's an only in 2020 or 2017 kind of concept. Could you imagine if there was a group of skateboarders in 1993 putting graffiti and said, "Hey, let's build a corporation around this"? Well, I guess they kind of fucking did it.
Well, I mean, Thrasher was built off of stuff like that. So like, there's a lot of things that are built around culturally impacting genres, and then you just build a company around it. The problem is, most of the time, people don't authentically build the business around it, and then it just becomes whack.
Gotcha.
But anyways, like I've consulted so many businesses, bro. Like it's crazy how many people will hire me to come in and teach them how to connect with audiences or how to, connect with culture. And I'll give them advice and they just like, it's almost like, what'd you hire me for? You're not listening. You're doing everything wrong. Your ego, whether you're a CEO or whoever, either you're somebody that's nervous that your job's like on the line because someone like me comes in and is basically doing your job for you, or you're a CEO who thinks know it all and get all the answers, and you're unwilling to learn, you're unwilling to change, and you're unwilling to listen. So I see it happen all the time. I'm sure you see it too, but why most startups don't work, right? So, I built my career off of Black culture with hip hop music and stuff. So diversity is in my DNA, and it was really uncomfortable to constantly see diversity not be accepted there. So, me and Greg and Wil, we decided like, dude, like we have all the sauce. We're bringing everything dope here. But we're getting so much resistance and no appreciation. Let's just go start something that we can make bigger and better, built off of diversity and inclusion and social good and actually giving a shit about the world and people and our fans. So that's why we started Xset. Now we're currently the fastest growing gaming lifestyle brand in the world. We have everybody from Ezekiel Elliott to Ozuna to Sway Lee, Quality Control Music, Nigel Sylvester, Bia, all these people involved with Xset because we're building the world's greatest culture club. And when I say that, like,
for our listeners, he's saying Xset, X-S-E-T, Xset.
Yeah, X-S-E-T, rep the set, X, baby.
There we go.
So, I'm building a company that the nucleus is gaming, but, plugging in all these genres is really building this like a culture club of just dope, right? All different people, the best in class of different genres that come together and game. But what we do as a company is we're like an extension of their brand to help bring in more deals, more sponsorship deals, more content deals, more opportunities, more, performances to be a part of gaming tournaments. Like, so we're like this one big conglomerate that we connect all these people together and help and then like I brought in Tim Story, for instance, who's like a life coach, who's like, I brought him in for, mental health and for people that, because a lot of young people that are lost, right? And they're depressed, so they get stressed out or they got these big demands and like, no one gives a shit. Whether you're a record label, you don't give a fuck about rappers you sign, you just want the money. Influence, you want their influence. Even athletes, like the people aren't giving a shit about their financial future and stuff. And that's always bothered me my whole career. And it's like, I want to build a company that I can actually give a shit about people and help them. So for the prime thing that they join, like maybe they want a game, maybe 5 years from now, they don't want a game anymore, right? But like being part of this company, there's other opportunities. And we have people within the company, like we're going to start implementing classes, like to teach them like financial literacy, to help them with their emotions, to help this is the kind of company I want to build. And it's the only kind of companies I want to be a part of where you actually give a shit about your employees, your customers, your partners, your investors. If you don't, then it's gross to me and I don't really want to be a part of it. It's time for a new change in the world, man. Like, look, it's great to be capitalistic and want to figure out new ways to make money, but it's also equally as great to care as much about people while you're doing that. And then, by the way, helping them figure out how to make some money too.
Right. So you're still in somewhat of a, I guess, I don't know if you'd say startup, but you're still early. What's already out there to market, and what should we be expecting in the next year or two?
I wish I could say the things that we're about to announce, but I've been working on a culturally disruptive model for a while, and it's finally, the contracts are all getting done now. I will say people like Lil Wayne, Lil Nas X, T Grizzly, all these people will be involved. So there's going to be a lot of big people involved with what I'm about to announce. But
I have a huge T Grizzly fan. That video, First Day Out. I mean, I fell in love with that damn song. I put that damn thing on repeat. My kids thought I was out of my freaking mind. It goes, Dad, it's not even that good of a song. I love First Day Out. But anyway.
Well, speaking of T Grizzly, we made history when I signed him to Xset live as an avatar inside GTA. So there was an Xset building inside GTA, and I called him on the phone. He answered as his avatar. I was like, yo, come by the office. And him and the Grizzly gang pulled up, came inside, met with me in Xset, and we officially signed him to Xset inside GTA. No one's ever done that before. So I'm sure you could put a link to that video in the description.
Well, we'll put all that in the show notes. If you just go to Clinton, I don't even know if you know this, it's the first thing on your YouTube channel right now. When I went to your YouTube channel, it's the first thing I saw. I'm like, dude, this is fucking awesome.
Dope.
So anyway, well, hey man, this is great. Anything else you want to tell the consumers about Xset before we wrap up here? I got one final question for you outside of this.
No, just get familiar with Xset, at Xset on all socials, xset.com. And when I say what I'm about to say, this isn't putting hype on it. This isn't everybody says, to the moon, we're going to kill it. But like, I'm architecting a company that will, and we can look back on this in 3 years from now, that will be one of the most significantly impacting cultural brands of our generation. That's, wrapped in good and helping and doing right by people and making the world a better place. Xset, and then ClintonSparks.com. You can check out all my stuff there. My new book, 10 Traits to How I Made Millions in the Music Industry, a guide on how they can help you too. And by the way, don't think this is just about the music industry. These traits are applicable for any industry or even your own personal relationships. These traits will help you. So you can get that too.
As you were saying, man, it's not a little Dale Carnegie-esque. If any of our audience has ever read any Dale Carnegie, he kind of had that flair to it, which is powerful. And I'm going to tell you what, man, as an early stage venture capitalist, part of my diligence process is a little unscientific, and it's just like listening to a person, how they talk. Okay, they mentioned a couple of these names. Do I know people that know those people, or do I even know those people directly? So part of my very unscientific process is fact checking and I guess character checking, you could say. And turns out Clinton and I have a few circles colliding, and I could tell you that you are very well connected and well respected. So if someone's going to make Xset work, I think you are the guy to do it. It's obviously your brainchild, and it's exciting, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me on here, man. I appreciate you caring enough to want to share me with your audience and asking these great questions. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, we end the show on one thing, and then we're going to cut out. Okay. It doesn't have to be music, doesn't have to be business. It could be, though. Clinton Sparks recommends what movie to our audience?
Jerry Maguire.
Oh, okay. There you go. You heard it here.
I've watched Jerry Maguire over 100 times when I was young, because and I guess even the way I live, you can see it's kind of Jerry Maguire-ish. You know what I mean? Yep. It's like more attention, care more, less money, like all those things really Love it. Anyways, Jerry Maguire is my all-time favorite movie.
Awesome. You heard it here. And Clinton, hang on the line. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thanks, guys.
And that wraps up another episode of 2000% Raise. Thank you for listening. The best way to support our show is by leaving a rating or review on all platforms you listened on. And of course, by following, liking, or subscribing. Visit us at 2000percentraise.com or at John Cerasani on TikTok and Instagram. And of course, my YouTube channel at John Cerasani's 2000% Raise. Find all the ways to follow today's guests in our show notes. Thank you for being a part of our entrepreneurial journey.